Hey guys, if you're interested in starting a side business for under $200, this isn't a side hustle. This is literally a business that you can do for under $200 or no money, and just want to add income to your household. Stay tuned because this is going to be a good podcast for you.
Hey, this is Liz, and you're listening to the SouthCack Syndicate Podcast.
Welcome back. I'm Jared.
Kyle Voss. And you just got us today.
Yeah, no guest today, but we're going to have a really fun podcast. We're going to talk about something that everybody's going to be interested in, and that's going to be, we talked side hustles a while back, a good while back actually, but I think we'll title this one, How to Start a Side Hustle with $200.
Yeah, under $200. So this is the practical version of what we talked about before. We're actually going to give you the step-by-step on this. Websites.
On some of it.
Yeah, on some of it.
Yeah.
And what I feel like you can do with this is you can take what we say, and I feel like there's the same avenues no matter what you're trying to do. So we're going to talk, clothing, starting a clothing company. We're going to talk a little real estate. We're going to talk a blog, whatever. Whatever it is, there are the same avenues to get things done in whatever industry it is. Now, we don't know all those. We're kind of talking from experience here.
Only experience.
Yeah, only experience.
We can speculate what else you could do with $200 to make some money, but today we're going to talk about what we know. So let's just get started with this podcast that you're listening to. It's a simple podcast. We pay, what's the platform fee that we pay to air our podcast?
So we use a company called Podbean, and basically what happens is we upload the content there one time, and it distributes that content through everything. Google, Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
All streaming platforms.
All streaming platforms. iHeartRadio. Anywhere you listen to this or can listen to this, it's all done through one distribution center. We get the back end of that. Mm-hmm. They also have their own advertising platform within that too, where they can advertise on your podcast. And then, obviously like we do, we can just go source our own advertisers and then just do our own ad spots.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about equipment. In our case, I had a home studio before, so we used a lot of our leftover vocal mics and things like that. And you can spend as little or as much as you want in a podcast.
I have actually seen Logan Paul, one of the largest podcasts there is.
Yep,
use their iPhones. So they'll be off somewhere and don't take any of their equipment. Each one breaks out their iPhone. They do plug a mic into it.
Oh, sure.
So they got like a little mic. Yeah, and they're
those little bitty mics. Yep.
Yeah, I think they're actually holding it on their phone, but each guest themselves holds their own phone. They record their own audio. You just have to go in post-production and kind of sync all that up, right? But it can be done for next to nothing.
Yeah, especially under that scenario. You got an iPhone. You got I dare to say it's $19 for the microphone that plugs into your iPhone.
Yeah,
and then $14 to $20 for the platform services, depending on where you want to go.
Yeah, and that's monthly.
And you can just throw your ideas to the world.
That's right. It's like $14 a month. $14 a month to basically host your podcast. Now it gives you a website. So
It does give you a web. No.
Yeah, we don't actually talk about it much, but you can go to podbean.com/SouthCack pod something. I don't know. Yeah. But you can actually, we have our own website. We don't really use it.
We haven't done anything with that.
Yeah, it's there. It automatically puts all of our episodes on there for us. We don't really send anybody there. We just send them to go listen to the audio version, but it is there. They give it to you if you want to use it.
Now, it's a little bit different for us when we talk about side hustle, because when I hear the definition side hustle, I think that I'm getting money because I'm hustling. So if we were to I don't mind doing this. If you don't mind doing this, we don't make money from Podbean. It's not like songwriting where you get royalties, right? Which is another under $200 side hustle.
There you go. Yep.
But what we do is currently you're hearing Shane Smith from Allstate.
Yeah, that was something that Jared hustled.
That's right.
And got, right? It wasn't something that just happened organically through the website.
That's right.
He actually went out.
Found an advertiser.
Right.
They pay us X amount of dollars for every episode that they're advertised on. And thank goodness. We had Oconee Hospitality on our first episode.
Yep.
We had Rhea from Lake Kiwi Real Estate.
Yep.
on some of the first episodes, and then Shane said, "I'll take them all."
Yeah, Shane's been so happy with it. He keeps every time when he's about the episode before, I have to tell Jared,
He re-ups.
He's like, "Hey, I owe you some money." We
right.
kind of slack a little bit because we don't. We could probably put 2 spots in there, and we'll have 2 spots in today's.
Today's we will. We've got I'll go ahead and give a prelim there. We had Nick Crenshaw from Rock the Ranch on a few episodes ago, and Rock the Ranch is coming up. And so to get the hype ready, they're going to do a car show. And we're all excited about that. It's going to be in our own hometown on Main Street at the Garage Tap Room. And you're going to hear an ad for that today. Now, I'll tell you that we gave the ad to them today because that's just what we do. But for most advertisements, this is how the podcast is funded, through advertising. So that's the only income that we get for the podcast currently.
Yeah. And, me and Jared, we started this thing. It wasn't about, obviously we'd love to for it to be self-sustaining, let us travel, meet people.
Take the show on the road, so to speak.
Right, which costs a lot of money. We would love for it to be able to do that, but it's not about us trying to create another career, which I think a lot of things we're going to talk about today are that. Like, if you're in a job right now and you hate it and you want it out and you're just looking for something out there to do while, kind of on the side, your little side hustle that is scalable. I think that's the other thing we need to talk about too, is all these businesses are super scalable.
That's right.
If your side hustle is washing a car or doing gardening, you only have so much time after your day job to do those things. It's not scalable. You can't.
Or even tinting windows.
Yeah.
Like we've got a great friend of ours who is just crushing that game.
Yeah. We're probably going to have him on at some point.
Turned side hustle into full time.
And it was his side hustle. He did that for a long time as a side hustle. And I guess you could say it's scalable if you hired people to do that stuff while you weren't there. But then you're talking about a facility and all this other stuff.
That's right.
These are things that are scalable without having a big building.
That's right.
Having
$1 million in your bank account.
Right.
You don't have to do that.
Right.
You can do it on minimum wage. You're working at a fast food restaurant. Here's some of the things that you can do.
Yep.
Podcast number 1.
Podcast is a good one. You can get your word. You can get out to the world, especially if you have something to say.
That's
if you're
that's important.
You've
got to be able to retain your listening group on a podcast.
And I think somebody would be perfect for a podcast would be somebody that is working for, I'll kind of go back to my history. Say they're working for a medical equipment company like I did. And I knew a lot about the business. I knew a lot of people in the business. And so I could speak to that really well on a podcast, right? I could have guests in. I could have all these things in where we could talk this world of that business while continuing to work. I knew the business. I could talk the business. And there's a lot of value that you could offer a lot of people that are doing the same thing, whether it's sales or marketing or whatever within that business. You could talk that on the podcast. So if you have something to say, then it makes sense. I mean, I wouldn't suggest starting a podcast if you're just going to be like.
So we're under $200. We're working with the bare minimums, literally what God gave us to work with. And we don't have a lot of money and we want to get a little bit of side cash. If you're in a great, here's one. If you're in a great location, road frontage wise, you got a pretty good traffic count on your county road that you live on or your main street that you live on, and a buddy of yours wants to sell a used car,
you slide
and
it out
you
there.
have a better location than he does,
Yeah.
charge him for that.
We actually know a guy here on Main Street that used to do that.
Yeah, no doubt. Makes a ton of money. We've got some friends of ours in Mountain Rest that do that. And when I say a ton of money, I mean north of $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
Of just putting a car in the right spot and
Not
selling the
scalable
car.
though. Not scalable.
Well, it'd be used car dealership, and then you're not $200 anymore. But it's just the littlest things have the biggest opportunities to be consistent.
Now, I also want everybody listening that is interested in this topic to think about how you could stack one win on top of another when we're talking about these. So, for instance, the used car, right? You sell something, make $1,000. You buy 2, you make $2,000. You buy 3, you sell those, you make $3,000. Well, now you can take that $3,000, your $200 that you let somebody borrow your property for to sell a car. You do that a couple of times, then you go buy your own car, and then you sell.
That gets into the scalable part.
Yeah, now
right?
you're into like you got $3,000. Now you can actually invest in one of these businesses on a larger scale that we're getting ready to talk about.
Sure. So number 1 was podcast. Number 2 is if you're in a great location, you can charge your friends to park stuff in your yard. And that doesn't cost you a dime.
Yeah.
Number 3 would be probably we'll get in the apparel side.
Well, let's go blog. Let's kind of start.
Yeah,
we'll kind of graduate up. So recently,
now you had a blog that you started a long time ago.
I started recently. So I started it about 6 months ago.
Okay.
And this is purely an experiment for me.
Awesome.
So I was like, these blog things are pretty big. Like, my thing was more of the exit. So my plan is to exit on this thing at some point. There's a website out there, and the website's called Flippa, Flippa, Flippa.com. You can actually go on there and buy any online business. Not any. You can go on there and buy an online business. There's tons of them for sale. It's basically an online business marketplace. And we're talking from...
That's already making money?
Some of them are six plus figures. No, they're 7 figures a year revenue. You can go on there and buy right now.
But you'd have to keep content going.
No, I mean, some of them might be like a e-commerce store that sells dog food.
But for today, we're $200 and less. So
right.
You started a podcast.
Well, hold on. So you could actually go on there, $200. You go on there and buy something that's already built.
Okay.
It can happen. You just got to find the right deal, right? Something maybe that you can kind of play with a little bit. If it happens to be an industry where you know what you're talking about, you can then make it better.
Which I would recommend.
Yeah. For me, I was on the other side of that. I'm like, I'm going to be the guy that starts it, kind of builds it for a while, gets some traffic, and then I'm going to flip it to somebody else. That was kind of my whole plan on this deal. So I go out, I get a domain, GoDaddy, get a domain.
GoDaddy.
I think it cost me, I don't know.
$9.95.
Yeah, something like that. And
It cost you under $200.
Yeah, and then I went to Wix.
Okay.
Wix.com. You can go there. It's a super easy way to build a website. I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with it. I go on Wix. I basically pick their blog style website. And then initially I was like kind of writing some of the stuff on my own.
Not anymore. I know exactly where this is going.
I had a little time. I'd write a blog post. I had a little time. I'd write a blog post. And they were all around the specific site who is more in the medical industry. And then OpenAI came around, ChatGPT. I'm sure all you guys are familiar with that.
Putting writers out of business.
Man, I was writing 50 articles a day.
Oh, with the AI version?
Yeah, because I just plug in, hey, write me a blog post about 10 things you can do, blah, 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 blah. And it would just spit it out for me. And I just copy and paste it in there. And for this particular website, I'm kind of gearing it around a major company that is in this field that would need to buy it to make more of a marketplace. And so currently,
Do you want to share the website?
Yeah, we can share. It's called CPAP, CPAP, which is something that people use
a medical device to sleep better.
It's a medical device they use to sleep with at night. It's
for sleep apnea.
For sleep apnea or obstructive sleep apnea is the actual word of it. But anyway, it's called CPAP-medicine.com. And so it's just blog posts. It's mainly set up currently for people to go there, learn about, you got to think every day there's tons of people who their doctor says, you need a CPAP. And they're like, what the hell is a CPAP?
Well, you look like Maverick off of Tom Cruise if you wore one.
Well, they don't even know. And so they're literally going on Google going, what is a CPAP? How do you do this? Or they have a CPAP. They know they need to use it. And they're kind of like, this is a problem for me, or that's a problem for me. How can I fix this? So they're like, what's the most comfortable mask? Or how do you sleep with a CPAP? Is there a special pillow you can use? All these things people are Googling is what this site's designed to drive in. And then we use affiliate marketing through Amazon.
Yeah.
So affiliate marketing's free. You can go on Amazon. You can become an affiliate as long as you have enough traffic. They basically...
Do you know those requirements, by the way?
I don't know them right off the top of my head.
Like you have to have 1,000 followers, and
it has nothing to do with followers.
It doesn't go on social at all.
No.
It is hits to the .com.
It has nothing to do with followers. It has everything to do with traffic. So if you're not actually
hits to the .com.
Yeah. If they're not clicking those links.
Yeah.
If nobody's clicking those links for 6 months.
Sure.
they're going to be like, we're just wasting one more account with you.
Yeah. It's not like they have unlimited bandwidth.
Right.
Yeah.
They're just wasting one more account with you. So they'll frown away from it. But they'll always let you initially go in. They'll give you 6 months. And then if you're not getting any clicks, they kick you out. And we've talked about this in previous podcasts, but the way the Amazon affiliates work, somebody clicks that link for your product, you get a percentage of everything they buy. And it doesn't.
Stop. Back up a little bit and keep talking about the blog that you started. Because I kind of think I know where you're going with this, because do you have some offers on this?
Yeah, I do.
So your all-in financial number to start the blog through GoDaddy for the .com, Wix for the website build.
Yeah.
And you've uploaded content, which mostly through AI.
Yeah. So I'll tell you the way I did this. I got the domain for a year. Okay. Cost me the $9 or whatever it was.
A month.
And
the .com's for a year.
The .com's like for a year. The Wix deal, if you go on there and you get a whole year, it's like $100 and something for the whole year. You know, it's more if you do it by the month. But what I like to do is I'm like, no, I'm just going to commit to a year and hopefully I can flip this thing in a year. So all in, I'm still under $200. Got some time in it, which most people have. That's like usually when you're kind of getting started in something, you have time. With the AI thing, man, it's like it don't take nothing. I mean, literally, I could create 50 blog posts in a day, and then what I would do is I would spend time and have those scheduled to post daily for the next 50 days. And so I'd be out 3-4 months ahead with blog posts.
Takes you a day to schedule or a couple hours to schedule, and you don't have to worry about it again for 6 months. You're going to live your life and do whatever.
Correct.
There's no upcharge for that.
Yeah. And then the daily drops of those posts look good in the eyes of Google search.
Yeah.
It's like this website's constantly updating itself.
Yeah.
And so it kind of ranks you higher as time goes on. Now it takes a while.
I think your all-in number would be literally under $200 for 12 months.
Yeah. And I had an offer on it last week, $1,000. I didn't take it. But hey, if you're looking to move to the next level.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
We're talking you put in $160 or whatever it is, a little bit of work, and you put it online. I had a $1,000 offer. That could make
that's right.
That can make a difference for somebody, right?
For sure.
I mean, I personally think that it's much bigger than that. I personally think that it could make $1,000 a month just in affiliate marketing.
That's right.
Now, the thing is with Flippa, the website where you sell these on, the ones that are valued high are the ones that are making revenue, and you basically show that revenue. With my current site, it's not generating any substantial amount of revenue, which doesn't make it valued very high. It's kind of like real estate, right? If you have a renter and a piece of real estate that's paying a ton of money for it, it makes that piece of real estate much more valuable to a buyer.
That's right.
Right? So you can sell it for more.
Of course.
But if it's empty,
That's right.
same building is worth a lot less. Same thing with website. If you got traffic and it's already generating revenue, it's worth a ton more to somebody that's going to buy it.
That's interesting because as you know, I went through a stage in my life, I'll call it a chapter of my life, where I just started buying up .coms.
Yeah.
I still own some of the craziest .coms you'd ever think of.
Let me tell the audience listening, Jared bought some of these while he's been drinking. He still doesn't know he owns them.
I get renewal notices like,
oh, so you know because of the renews?
Oh, shit. I own I'dfishthat.com.
Yeah. So you need to
like, you heard the term, I'd hit that.
Yeah, I'd fish that.
I'd fish that.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, I've owned that thing forever.
Me and Jared had a domain called Show Me Your Koozie. I think we've talked about that on past.
Yeah. But what I did see on GoDaddy, and not Flippa, because I'm not familiar with that .com, but
don't go there because you will be addicted.
Oh yeah.
You'll own websites like you own .coms.
I know. So what I saw happen was I bought it for like $3. But now that .com is, I don't know, $400.
Yeah.
It has generated zero traffic, but I bought in early.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure
not early enough.
Yeah.
If you were to buy, some of these .coms, like people will pay. I'm going to go back in time with you. Do you remember when you've had bossperformance.com?
I still got it.
And there was also a boat, like a cigarette boat manufacturer.
No. He made.
Or something.
He still exists.
Yeah.
He tried to buy it from me.
Yeah. Called you up and said, hey, man, I love your website. You're like, ain't going to do it.
No, he didn't say I love your website. His name, he was also a Voss. He's also a Voss.
Yeah.
And he did replicas of GT40, Ford GT40s.
Oh, that's right.
And he's out in California.
Race cars.
They were like race cars, or he would just do like replicas for people to drive or collect. He did like the Cobras, the Shelby Cobra, almost like the Factory 5 kind of stuff for those car guys out there that know what I'm talking about. But
he made you an offer and you turned it down.
I reached out to him. So what happened, the story goes, I had VossPerformance.com. I still got it. But I had a website for a while. And I would get all of these people hitting me up. Because this guy was like on a TV show or something back then. And they'd hit me up like, hey, I really like that. I seen you on TV. I really like what I seen. How much would it cost for me to buy, one of these GT40 packet, whatever? And I had no clue.
Which had to be confusing because you're also a Ford Mustang guy.
I am.
And so when people are saying, hey, you got a Shelby 500 in your garage, I really love the episode. You're probably going, what did I do last night?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I was like, what is going on? And I got a ton of them. And so I kind of did a little bit of research, found out that there was this guy. And so I reached out to him. I'm like, look, dude, a ton of your customers are hitting me up. They think I'm
sure.
I'm not really using this domain or this website anymore. Why don't I just sell it to you? He's like, well, I ain't got no money and I can't really afford nothing. And I'm like,
but they're asking for $500,000 cars.
Yeah. I'm like $500,000 project here.
Yeah, and you don't have $2,000.
You give me 10 grand for this domain.
Yeah.
He's like, nah. And I think he ended up offering me like, I don't even know. And
$1,500.
And I mean, I don't have nothing against the guy, so I don't want to like.
No. We should fly out and put him on a podcast to see what's going on.
So anyway, whatever he offered me, it wasn't worth. I'm like, I'll just keep it forever, even if I don't use it, and I don't use it. There is no website attached to it anymore.
Sure.
You go to VossPerformance.com, you get nothing. I own it. Maybe he'll come back to me one day.
Maybe. So we talked about the blog part. Now, give me another one that's under $200 for somebody to do a side.
And I want people to like look at this as like, most people think of side hustles. They think of like selling sneakers, and we talked about that on our side hustle,
which is also literally an under $200.
It is, but on this episode, I don't want to talk about those kind of side hustles.
Understood.
I want to talk about somebody starting an actual business that can be under $200. That's you can scale, and it can be as big as you can dream. Yeah. Now, obviously, at some point you have to hire people and whatever, but you can literally start it for under $200. A blog is one of those. There is, and the only reason I know this because I've actually watched a couple of her videos. This is going to sound funny, but she literally makes six figures running a blog. She started in college. Her college blog was how to decorate your dorm room. Okay. And she had all these dorm room decorating ideas. She'd post stuff on Pinterest and she grew this huge following from it. And then what she started doing was that she started offering like, custom scheduling books for college. She would like go get a scheduling book and everything she got, she didn't like. So she made her own and started offering this to her blog followers, whatever. Now she's got like 6 employees. They have like their own whole wing of decor and like a whole business of where people hire to come decorate their house and whatever.
It sounds very similar to Angie's List when Angie's List started.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was just looking for house cleaners. So I built a website to search for house cleaners. And now, I don't know where they're at now, but there was a period here in the last 5 years where she was just the company.
This is what I'll guarantee you. Angie's List and Craigslist, both of them, both of them started for under $200 because they were both very crude. They were just lists.
But they also became obsolete with Facebook when they started Marketplace.
You're right.
Which is another under $200 side hustle. It's zero money to list your stuff.
Yeah, not scalable. That's not what I'm looking for in this. I'm looking for something like you're building a business.
Okay.
I want people to build businesses, right?
Yep.
So a blog could be a business like we just talked about. Like this lady has a full-on company now that's all wrapped around this blog. And then what they do is then they spawn out other blogs and they can self-advertise and do stuff like that. What was the first one we talked about? So we talked about the blog. What was the first one?
Yep.
Is it time for a break already? What was the first thing we talked about?
I don't remember. It was 10 minutes ago.
Podcast. Podcast is kind of that. I mean, it could be a full-on business, right? I mean, you look at like
Joe Rogan.
You look at Joe Rogan, Logan Paul, Barstool
Sports is like they figured it out in every single state in the country. But I guarantee you, they started with a platform under $200.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to apparel company because we know this one really well.
Yeah,
me and Jared have created 2 of these.
Yep.
And probably had several renditions within the same space.
And it all follows the same platform, right? So it is a .com. You have to have some place to sell your apparel. So that's, $70 a month or $50 a month. You've got to have a way to accept money, which is no money out of your pocket. They're taking a percentage after the sale.
Yeah.
So you're not paying up front for that. And you can use companies like 99 Designs or Fiverr to create you a graphic tee, and use a third-party company like Printful, based out of California.
Well, they're everywhere. They got a headquarters right here in Charlotte. They have some overseas too. So what's awesome is they'll ship. You don't have to ship overseas. They actually print it overseas. And the shipping's cheap for those.
Oh, they're growing.
Yeah.
So you've got all that. We're still under $200. You got a great design for T-shirts. You got a platform to sell them on. You've built a Facebook account or a social account that doesn't cost you a dime to do. And you might want to throw $50 a month advertising. It could be $2 a month, whatever it is.
I tell you what,
you don't have to touch the apparel. Everything you're not screen printing, you're not shipping and receiving, you're not doing any of that.
Yeah.
It is a hands-off business, and the only thing you got to do is push content.
So let's do this. Let's take a quick break. We come back, and I'll give you the exact playbook. If you want to start an apparel company, the websites, how to set it up, everything you need to know. And then what we'll do is we'll kind of talk about, okay, because you can't run that forever. That's not scalable. At some point, you have to start manufacturing your own stuff or sourcing your own stuff, and we can get into that.
We'll talk about it right after this break. Stay tuned. Hey guys, Jared here. Let me tell you about the great local event happening on May 20th. You may remember Nick Crenshaw from the podcast a while back. Well, Nick and the folks at Rock the Ranch are hosting a charity car show called Rock the Ride at the Garage Tap Room here on Main Street in Walhalla, South Carolina. It's going to benefit their 3 charities, Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, Shriners Children's Hospital, and the Alzheimer's Association. It's free to the public, so come on out to the car show for live music, silent auction, and local barbecue. Kyle's going to be there with the Bibster as well. To register your car, go to rocktheranchmusicfest.com/rocktheride. Looking forward to seeing you there.
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time-consuming. When it comes to your auto and home insurance needs, make things simple and trust your Allstate experts. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your auto and home. Bundling saves money, sure, but it also saves you time. So you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact Clemson Allstate agent Shane Smith at 864-654-1047 today for a free personalized insurance proposal. Allstate, are you in good hands?
All right, we're back. All right, so right before the break, we talked about how to do your own apparel company for under $200. Kyle's going to kind of structure that out for you in very simple layman's terms.
Yeah, I think I want to start from there was a time where me and Jared sat down in the really early days, and we weren't necessarily trying to do something for under $200, but we did all the research and we knew how you could do it. And honestly, we could have done it like that and then kind of moved into other things as time progressed, as we had some money rolling in.
We can't really use that as the example.
I can definitely use mine though, because that's exactly what I did.
Definitely use yours.
So when I started, in long story short, and I don't want to get into it, but a long time ago, me and Jared started an apparel company called SouthCack.
And George.
And George.
You bet.
And it still exists.
Yeah.
which is where the SouthCack Syndicate podcast came from.
And we're no longer under $200.
No, his lawyers make more than that.
No doubt. You tell the story about starting an apparel company under $200.
Okay, so
Here's the play-by-play.
yeah, I went out on my own, decided I was going to start an apparel company, and I'm like, I don't have the time right now to have a full-fledged apparel company. I don't have time to be folding shirts and sticking them on shelves. I don't have time to be having people print all these different things or even print them myself, have all these screens and whatever. So I was like, I'm going to figure this out where I don't have to do nothing. So I go out, get a domain, KillFab Clothing, killfab.com, which is KillFab Clothing Company. I think it cost me $10. I go on, I create a Shopify account. Okay. I don't know. I think currently it costs me $35 a month, but I pay for a bunch of extra plugins with that site. It gives me extra features and lots of stuff. I don't think it costs that much in the beginning. I know it doesn't. I can't remember exactly what it was. Let's say $20 a month. So we're in this for $30 for the first month, right? I go to Fiverr.com.
Which is like 99 Designs. It's just a design contracting company.
Yeah, Fiverr is not just designs. It's a freelance. I call it a freelance company.
Yeah, but you get to choose how much money you want to spend.
Correct. And you can hire anybody you want anywhere around the world.
Based on if you love their artwork. So put it in perspective for you a little bit. Tattoo artists have a very certain design style. So most people that have sleeves and avid tattoo artists, they know who did the artwork just based on the design.
Yeah.
We know who writes songs just based on the songwriting. Fiverr's the same way. Graphic design is the exact same way. You either love what they're doing because they have their own style, but with Fiverr you get to pick, or 99 Designs, and I'm sure there's other companies out there.
There is.
You get to pick what you like.
Freelance.
The most.
There's another one called Freelance. But I'll give you an example. So Fiverr, I really like Fiverr. Fiverr, it's spelled Fiverr.
That's right.
Fiverr.com. You literally go on there. You kind of look for what you want. You can put in keywords or whatever. It's going to give you a bunch of artists. For me particularly, it's artists, right? I think they have other freelance stuff that you can get. You know, if you want them to write a blog post, you can find somebody on Fiverr that'll do that.
Not anymore. We're going to ChatGPT.
Well, you know. So you go on there, you kind of search through current artwork. Obviously, I like the automotive stuff, so I'll kind of pick somebody that kind of gets that world. And then I give them the most crude drawing you could ever imagine of an idea that's in my head.
Yeah.
And 4 days later, they spit it back out.
Yeah.
It cost me $40 or, everything's negotiable. Every artist is different. So, it could be 20, it could be 400.
Yep.
It really depends on who you're hiring. But you can definitely have a huge assortment of people to use for under $40.
And here, I'm just going to add this little tidbit in. If you have a great relationship with an artist that you find on a platform like Fiverr, pay them off of Fiverr the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Then build the relationship with them.
Exactly.
And there's multiple ways you can do that. You
Yeah.
can cut them in on a percentage of profits, and they design it for free.
Yeah.
Or you can
Keep them
lessen,
in on-
because Fiverr's business model is we supply the artist.
They get a cut.
And to the artist, we supply the public that needs you, and Fiverr makes money off of every single transaction.
Yeah. So you could literally have them on retainer.
That's right.
You can say, look, I'll just pay you X amount a month. You kick me out 2 designs every month.
Yeah. So,
right.
So carry on. You got Fiverr, you got your designs.
Yep. So where are we at? $9 for the domain. Shopify, we're talking $20 a month. So you're in $30 so far. Fiverr, say you spent $40 on a design. So you get 2 designs. And I do want to say this. Don't get too caught up in the design side, because think of and I'm sure a lot of you've seen this. Lions Not Sheep. That is an apparel brand.
Love those
that
guys.
literally all it is they just typed it out in whatever font they had.
And screen printed it in the warehouse.
Yes.
Put it in a bag and shipped it to you.
Yes. It's more about the marketing than the designs. Now, designs are great.
100%.
Yeah. So we're in this. So say you get 2 designs, you're $80, $20 for the first month of Shopify, $9 for your domain. What is that? 80. It's like 100 and something bucks. We're in this. We still got money to play with. We still got money to market with. We still got money to whatever you wanted. If you want to buy some koozies or whatever.
That's right.
And when the cool thing about this setup is within Shopify, so you start your Shopify website, Shopify has all these plugins. Okay. And what it is it's third-party companies that basically create a software that plugs into your website and handles some kind of service for you. And the one we're going to talk about today is Printful. There's several of them. Mm-hmm. But Printful is a company that does, they'll do on-demand garment printing.
Direct to garment
printing and shipping for you. So why would you care about that? Well, you don't have any inventory. So if you were going to hold inventory of shirts, you'd have to buy all those shirts printed at X amount, $8 a shirt, whatever it is, have them on the shelves. Now you got, $6,000 worth of inventory.
Oh, way more than that.
You got to carry every size, every color, every option, all that stuff. You got to have a place to put them, all this stuff. Printful doesn't do that.
Nope.
They print it as the order comes through.
Yep.
So the way this works, I got a full functioning website at this point. I got the domain, I got Shopify, I do all the artwork and stuff, make it look cool. I got 2 designs. Maybe I can make one myself, a lines not sheep type of design, just something simple. I put them up there. I'm in business. Killfab.com, is a business now. Somebody comes on there and they order a shirt. That order goes straight to Printful. Okay, Printful gets that order. I get an email that says, hey, so-and-so ordered this shirt. I get an email that says Printful got it. They're currently working on it.
Then you get an email that says they shipped it.
Right. So Printful.
And then you see the money transfer.
That's right. So the awesome thing is that you can set the price on your website for what you want to sell the apparel for. And Printful has a set price that they're going to sell it to you for. So the margin already, right? You know the margin. If you're selling it for 30 and Printful's going to charge you 18, you're making $12 on that shirt or whatever it is. So the order comes through. I get an email, says Printful got it. So-and-so ordered it. When Printful prints that shirt, they then put it in a box that is labeled KillFab Clothing Company.
That's right.
Right? So when you get the labeling and everything on the box, it says KillFab Clothing Company, blah, 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 whatever. They ship that straight to the customer. You never see it. You never touch it. You never have to house it. You don't even pay for it until it is processed.
That's right.
So I get my $30 up front from the person who ordered off my site. Printful a couple days later charges me the $18. Somewhere in the middle, I make $12. That's it. And that's not actual numbers, but it's something like
close.
that. Yeah, it's something like that. Now, the disadvantage to that is obviously you're leaving a lot on the table. If you did spend the money to house this apparel, you could probably get it for $8 a shirt or, you name it. You can really, the more you buy, the lower those get, the higher your margins go. You can make more money. But in the beginning, you don't need to do
We're
that.
still under $200.
You're under $200 and you're making money. You got a business.
That's right.
You can spend your other $80 you got left over on
To
marketing.
market.
Yes.
Like
Which is the key.
You have to be able to push your product out to people.
Yeah.
In this particular case, you got to be able to push your product out to people.
The one thing I do want to stress on this is all the stuff we're talking about is
We've done,
but also is foreign or voodoo as it may sound. It's really the easy part, which is why we can tell you this.
Yeah.
The hardest part is acquiring customers, plain and simple. I mean, obviously.
Okay, so let's pause for a second.
Yeah.
What is do you know your customer acquisition cost for KillFab Clothing?
Mine's easy though.
Exactly.
Yeah, because that's
the whole point.
I don't have any.
Of course you do, man. I've seen boxes being shipped out.
No. Customer acquisition is nothing for me because it all comes through YouTube.
Oh, because you already have a following base. I understand.
So for me, it's nothing because I don't do any outside advertising.
I understand. And I can't tell you my acquisition cost because we're different. We're not 200 and under.
So what in a perfect scenario, what you want to do is you want to find, and at some point what's going to happen is if you build one of these businesses, you're going to have to figure out how to market to these people. You may have to hire somebody to do some.
Yep. Go ahead.
You may have to hire somebody to do some kind of call to action writing. What do they call that? It's
Copyright.
Copyright. You have to pay somebody to do some copyright. And you're going to have to actually you're going to have to experiment with ads on your favorite platforms and see what works. The good thing is, though, some of them may not work. But there are some that are going to work that you can literally say it cost me X to get them, but I made X when they checked out.
And even if you fail, you're only out $200.
That's it. That's it. Hell, some people they spend more than that at the bar on Saturday.
That's part of it. I'm glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that because people that are complaining about I hate my job. I'm going to go to the bar and drink for the weekend, or go to Gatlinburg or Cherokee and gamble.
Yeah.
Like, take that money and start a side hustle for $200.
You know what's awesome about this too is if you lose, if none of it works, and say you got $500 in it,
you more than doubled your money.
No, I'm not even talking about making any money. If you instead of starting a $200 side hustle like this, you was like, no, I'm gonna spend $500. I'm really gonna make a go at it, and you go for 6 months and you spend a ton of time on it, and it totally fails. You know what? You learn so much in those moments.
Who was it we had that said the cost of education isn't cheap? Brad Price.
Yeah. I mean, you learn so much. I mean, we wouldn't be able to tell you what we tell you right now if we didn't
lose.
Fail. Yeah.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, people say, man, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? My number one line has always been, don't learn from my successes. Let me tell you about how I failed.
Yeah.
Because this will help you more. They're like, no, we don't want to learn how you failed. We want to learn how you got successful.
Yeah, I think even if you tell people how you win, they're still not going to do what you do.
Until they fail. And that's when you really learn.
Yeah.
That's when you really learn.
And that's also why it's very important when you fail, don't stop. Because that's the learning lesson. Now you have to take that with you onto the next experiment or experience.
That's right. Let me tell you the best deal for zero. Like we talk about 200 and under. Let me tell you how to make some money without spending a dime.
You know what you told me when we had talked about the same exact thing?
What?
You're like, that's a bad deal.
Let me tell you this. No, seriously. Like I call it the Rolodex. I'm sure Kyle calls it something different. And other entrepreneurs will call it whatever their own term is.
I know where he's going.
My Rolodex is deep. So I know people all over the world. Okay, so relationships are money.
Let me ask you something. I know where you're going, and I want you to finish. Mm-hmm. But let me put a little caveat in there. Because we were just talking about failures.
Yeah, you bet.
And experimenting. Mm-hmm. Don't you feel like that your Rolodex is so large because you did a lot of experiments and a lot of failing? Because this is where I'm going. Mm-hmm. If you just didn't ever try anything, you would not have that Rolodex.
No, that's right.
Right?
That's right.
Me and you are friends now because of things that we've tried.
For sure.
A lot of the influential people that has kind of guided you through your life or helped you in business. A lot of those are like, you've tried different stuff. You've did experiments. You know, whatever.
No doubt. I didn't coin this. It's actually just very knowledgeable. It's the more hands you shake, the more money you make.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
So you build your Rolodex, what I call my Rolodex. It's just connections. I grab a business card and hand out a business card every chance I get. I could be at a dive bar in Tallahassee. I'm handing somebody a business card.
Or you're grabbing one.
Or multiple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you follow up with those folks, even if there is no reason to.
Yeah, but I never say the word follow up. That's the F word in sales that you never want to do.
It's not sales, though. It's connections.
No, but it's still, don't ever say, hey, I'm following up.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying like you meet some dude.
Yeah.
Tallahassee.
Yeah.
3 months later, you're like, hey, man,
I was just thinking about you the other day. How's things going?
But what if Tallahassee reached out to me and said, hey, man, I'm looking at a real estate deal over in your neck of the woods in the upstate of South Carolina. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with Clemson? Well, yeah. You got anybody in that market? Yeah, absolutely. He said, well, I'm looking at an MDU or an apartment complex for, $6.8 million. Do you have a connection to a realtor there? And I'd be like, oh, yeah. Now, I could play this one of two ways. I could, if I had my real estate license, I'm obviously getting a portion of that. Or I'd just say, you give me 1% of the back end and I'll put you in contact or whatever.
Or it's even deeper than an agent. If that same deal was going on, he's like, hey, we got a bunch of...
Do you know the owner?
No, hold on. Right. You could know the owner.
100%. Let's put out the agent completely.
He's like this particular... and this is actually a real thing. Not necessarily that Jared worked out, but this is a real deal. Hey, we're doing this big deal with a bunch of apartment complexes. Mm-hmm. On the bottom level, there's a bunch of commercial real estate. Do you know any businesses that might be interested in this prime real estate? Well, yeah.
You bet I do.
We got a bunch of guys that have been on the podcast. Matter of fact, we got a guy that's...
But the key that everybody misses every single person that's been put in this placement misses the point of the ask. You have to ask.
You're right. And I'm horrible about that. I'll admit.
You have to go for the kill. And I don't mean that in a negative term. Kill seems negative, but you have to get something for your Rolodex.
Yeah. So I'll tell you guys a story. And we've kind of worked up to this because now we're talking real estate. Mm-hmm. So me and Jared last week, was it after last week's podcast? It was.
Yeah, right after.
We started working he'd kind of already been working this deal. Large real estate play, local to us. Really too big for either one of us to kind of fathom. But we were very interested in it. We're like, man, we're sitting here after the podcast last week, and this is why we do this podcast.
That's exactly right.
Because we're sitting here after the podcast last week going, man, how do we make this work? You know, how do we get in this? How do we do something with this, right? And I'm like, I might know some guys. He's like, let's go.
Reach out.
Let's go look at the building. I'm like, all right. And I'm like hook, line, and sinker sold on this thing. I'm like, I see the same vision he sees. We're in it together. We love it. We can't make it happen. We could probably make it happen. It doesn't make sense for us. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I think I got some guys though, man. Let me reach out. And long story short, we reached out to some really big hitters. Not going to name any names, but guys that could definitely make it happen. And our play on it was, hey, we just want a piece of this.
That's right.
We just want a piece of this. You know, the thing that's great about this is it didn't cost me and Jared anything.
Not a dime.
A couple beers.
And if they come through and purchase the real estate, we get a piece of it. We're not under $200. We're $0.
We're 3 beers.
Unless we put time, which is our greatest asset, right? But
you got to do something with it anyway.
No. Like we were drinking beer anyway.
Yeah, So anyway,
it's about putting people together.
The cool thing is one of the guys I reached out to is this South Carolina guy. The other one's a Tennessee guy. And I think I got a meeting with the Tennessee guy when I'm going to be in Nashville in a couple weeks. And so maybe nothing.
And the relationship we wanted to build with the South Carolina guy responded back. And he knows we're serious.
Yeah.
And we built that relationship as well. Remember, Rolodex is zero money. So build your Rolodex.
I guess the takeaway from me on this, and it's not so much for you because you're used to this, but it's like make that play. Because me personally, I'd have come did the podcast with you last week, and I'd have left and went home and do what I always do every day. And I was like, no, let's go look at it. And then I was like, man, because I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Afterwards, I'm like, what am I doing? I woke up the next day like, what am I doing?
I mean, you know, like
That's way too big of a project.
yeah, and I'm like talking. I'm talking to these guys.
Millions and millions of dollars.
I'm talking to these guys that are like, you know, a $4 million project's nothing to them.
That's right.
And I'm like, what am I doing in this? Like, I know what they're gonna do when they come back. They're gonna be like, okay, how much capital you got to, you know? And I'm gonna be like, I don't know, I got a couple grand. You know, I'll put in this.
Yeah, I told one of the gold nuggets I took from one of my best friends. His name's Adam. I was looking at a $14 million deal with a buddy of mine. And I'm like, man, I can't even comprehend $14 million. And I know this podcast is $200 and under.
Yeah.
So $14 million is a way
But
different
I feel like we worked our way up.
But what Adam told me was, dude, it's nothing but commas and decimals.
You're right.
1,400 or 14 million.
It's
if
the same
the
thing.
math works, then that's a doable deal. That's a
Yeah.
bankable deal. That there's no way you can't do that deal.
And the good thing is, and this is what I want people
So
to
we
realize.
did the deal.
See, and that's what I want people to realize too. You know, we're talking under $200 to start something, which primarily is going to be interesting to folks who are on a budget.
Oh, for sure.
When you start talking about 14,000, 14 million, whatever.
If you're listening to Dave Ramsey, this podcast is for you.
Yeah, I guess so. Except for that, we don't want you to stay there. We want you to make the $14 million deals, right? We want you to learn things on the $200 startup.
That's right.
That you can then take with you and start closing these $14 million deals.
Learn from your failures, not from your successes.
And I don't even think it's a failure or a success. I think it's just you just learn
The cost
skills.
of education.
Yeah, you just learn skills in that. That they say that it doesn't matter if you're going to buy a house for $140,000 or $14 million complex. It's the same thing.
That's right.
and it comes down to like the knowledge of how to get financing and basically hang that on somebody else. Mm-hmm. And they, it's like you could own 6 houses or one huge complex. The huge complex is going to be less of a stress on you than 6 houses because it's all under one. You got one management, you got one this, you got one that, one loan, one insurance, one everything. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be able to make a lot more money because you have it all consolidated.
Yeah.
Which is not something me and Jared have done, but we will get there. I feel certain that.
Yeah, on some aspect, but like under $200 is the title of this podcast. So we've scaled up, and I hope you got some gold nuggets from this. I want to reiterate, the more hands you shake, the more money you make.
100%.
Build your Rolodex. That doesn't cost 1 cent.
Yeah.
If you're in a bar, stop saying, well, I wrecked my 4-wheeler last Saturday. Start saying, well, I work at such and such plant, but I've got ideas to do this, and my name's so-and-so.
Well,
let me hand you a business card.
Don't you think if somebody just went out and started one of these $200 businesses, it could be a podcast, it could be
I know where you're going. Yeah.
It could be, a clothing line, it could be whatever. Don't you think when they go into that bar and they meet that person, like, hey, how you doing?
I'm the owner of Microphone Apparel Company.
Whatever. I started this, started that.
Yep.
It only cost you $200. Now you have some clout.
Yep.
Now you got something to talk to somebody about.
Even if they don't know that you sold 10 shirts and not 10 billion shirts.
It doesn't matter.
You are the owner of a company that you started a .com. You've got a business card with that website on it. Say, hey, go check it out. And if there's any way I can help you, don't hesitate to ask.
Not only that, you can talk about marketing and website stuff, so, and strategies and this and that and other things that you've kind of got some experience on now that you never had before because the company you work for always did it.
Yeah. I think we're wrapping this up, right?
Yeah.
So I'll end with this. Brains did not get me to where I am. Period. Relationships got me to where I am.
You're a people person for sure.
So it is all about relationships. Relationships is your biggest asset that doesn't cost 1 cent. Shake those hands. Whatever industry you want to side hustle in, whatever industry you are in, imagine being a factory worker and being in the right spot at the right time, shook somebody's hand who wants one part from your company.
Yeah.
Well, now you get to go to management and say, hey, I may have a possible lead on a contract.
Yeah.
I want 1% of the contract.
Yeah, you got to ask, like you said.
You have to ask, and don't be scared to ask. They're going to tell you no. Don't give them the relationship. Like, don't.
Yeah, I won't.
Don't do it.
So
don't stop. Look, I want to say this. Stop working for free.
Yeah, know your value. So that's Jared's piece. The piece I'm going to give you is going to be a little bit different. I really like his. His is probably the greatest piece of advice that you could ever have. It's something that I literally leave here every Thursday. Thinking about, man, I need to change the way I do things a little bit. The one thing I'm going to do, because me and Jared are very different in the way we look at life, I think that's why it works so well for us. I'm going to give you the very practical side of this. And the value that I can add for that is all this stuff we talked about in this podcast. If you want to do it and you have questions, email us. I will literally spend the time to walk you through it.
We both will.
Like each step, everything you need to know.
Yep.
I'll give you everything you need. Like no question.
For $10.99. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
No, the value, I'm going to give you the value because you listen. That's what I'm going to do.
That's
not that his advice is not the greatest advice ever. I'm just going to kind of take the other side of that and do the very practical side of this. If you want to start something, I think there might be 2. I hope there's at least 2 people.
Yeah.
And you have any kind of hiccups along the way, or you're scared or whatever.
Where are they going to find us at?
SouthCackPod@gmail.com. You can hit us there. We're on Instagram, SouthCackPod. Obviously, you can hit us up right here on whatever platform you're watching. If it's on YouTube.
Yeah. Stop doing what you love for free. We'll see you next time on the SouthCack Syndicate Podcast.